Mist, L7 to the Forbidden. Chapter 3.
What the?
Zachary reappeared exactly where he had disappeared after taking the human away. He seemed shaken as he contemplated the situation before him.
Kyo, what happened?
Hankio knelt on the ground, holding Aika in his arms. She lay unconscious, looking as fragile as crystal.
Zach, help me, please?
Collyn's voice came a few steps behind Hankio, struggling to stay on his feet while preventing Onea, who was unconscious, from falling. Zachary hurried to Collyn's side. Together they carefully carried Onea over to where Hankio was kneeling, and they laid her gently on the ground, Collyn resting her head on his lap. Zachary looked into Hankio's eyes with worry and confusion. Hankio knew he had to give his siblings an explanation, but not even he knew what was going on.
Where did that human come from? How did he find us? How is he able to get here? Why did he hurt Veniss? Do all the humans already know about us? Are we in danger?
So many questions flooded his mind. What had occurred that morning could change many things, and they had to think carefully about what they would do next.
Kyo, what do we do? The mist is dissipating and the spirits surely know something is wrong.
Zachary's voice interrupted his train of thought. He was right. There would be a time to answer those questions later. For now, his siblings' security and well-being were his top priority. He needed to pull himself together if he was to ensure their safety. He regained his composure and started giving instructions.
Go get Maely and Veniss.
Zachary nodded and set off. In mere seconds, he returned holding his sister's hands.
Aika! Onea!
Exclaimed Veniss, as she and Maely rushed towards their sisters and crouched beside them.
Hey, don't worry. They'll be fine. They just need some rest,
He said with a soft smile. Then he looked at Zachary again.
I need to talk with all of you.
I know.
They gathered around Hankio, waiting for something. An indication or an explanation, perhaps. At that moment, the forest was flooded with silence, as if every creature was attentive to what the elf was about to say.
I can't tell you what exactly is happening because... honestly, I'm not sure of anything. What I can tell you is that while we wait for Aika and Onaya to wake up, it's better not to tell the spirits anything. If they see any of you and ask you something, you have to
deny knowing anything about it.
Yes, precisely.
I can't tell Tai either?
Asked Veniss.
Oh, Tai.
Hankio thought about this for a moment.
We can't tell Tai either. At least not for now.
But I don't understand. He's my guardian spirit. He's supposed to protect me and help me. Isn't he? Aren't they all our guardian spirits, Kyo? Aren't they our protectors?
Hankio didn't have the time, or the heart, to tell his little sister that not all the spirits were as nice as they seemed, or as nice as hers for that matter. He didn't want any spirits to know, but at the same time, Veniss had been badly injured, and she probably needed to talk to someone other than her siblings. She needed someone who could guide her. She needed her teacher, her guardian spirit. But they'd have to wait until Aika woke up.
Yes, Veniss, there are protectors. But even so, I believe we should wait until Aika wakes up before we decide anything, don't you think? Right now there's a lot of things happening.
He said with a smile.
All right.
Thank you, Veniss. We'll talk about it when the time is right, I promise. Now, Veniss, Maely, I want you both to walk back to the house together. I want you to hang out in the back garden like usual. Just pretend like you were together all morning and went to pick up some berries or something in the forest. If the spirits ask you anything, just act normal, okay?
His sisters nodded, and he turned to continue.
Zach, I need you to take Onea and Aika back to the house. Take them to Aika's room and then come back. I need your help with something. Calls, you go back with them and take care of Aka and Onea. Aka should be waking up soon, but she might be a little disoriented. I believe Nea will take a little bit more time to wake up, so I need you to protect her from Aka, alright?
But what about the spirits?
Asked Zachary.
They can't enter Aka's room, so don't worry about them. The mist is dissipating. You all should go.
Veniss and Maely started to walk away together, and Hankio turned to his brothers to help them carry their sisters. But suddenly he heard Veniss calling him.
Kyo?
He turned around and saw that they had both stopped. He approached them calmly and crouched down to their height.
What is it?
I'm scared.
She answered, ashamed.
It's all right to be scared. But that's why we have each other, right? So that we can face our fears together. Right now you have Maely by your side. You can rely on her.
He told her with a smile.
I really can't tell him anything?
Not for now, Veniss.
He looked into his sister's eyes. They were the youngest of them all, and therefore the ones he worried about the most. He didn't think they were reckless. On the contrary, they were both brilliant. What worried him was that they would be at the mercy of the spirits, and that Veniss still trusted them completely. He knew Maely had a deep resentment for her own guardian spirit, and that made her wary of the others. But Veniss was oblivious. She was the most vulnerable to the spirit's tricks and deceptions.
Kyo, we won't tell a soul, I promise,
Assured Maely, noticing her brother was absorbed in his thoughts again.
All right, I trust you.
Hankio said as Maely dragged Veniss away. Zachary and Collyn were still struggling to carry their sisters, so Hankio went to help them. Before Zachary teleported them away, Hankio came close to his ear and asked him quietly, whispering,
Where did you leave him?
You mean the human? Yes. I tied him and left him in the one place on this cursed island where he will be safe from the spirits and from which he cannot escape.
My treehouse.
Bingo!
he said with a smirk as he disappeared with a green bolt. In the nearby river, the flowing water sang a gentle melody, and in the sky the clouds let the sun's rays through. The light breeze, smelling of rain, played with the leaves of the trees and ruffled the elves' wet hair. Hankio was sure that Rue would be looking for him, that it wouldn't take long for them to find him, and that they would ask questions. A lot of questions. But to be honest with himself, Hankio couldn't care less about them. His thoughts were a mess, and he didn't want to deal with any spirits right now. Besides, he had questions to ask before he could answer anything. He started walking towards his treehouse, hoping that Zachary would come back before he met Rue or any of the other spirits. Suddenly, as if he had summoned him, Zachary appeared accompanied by a green flash.
Hey.
He said with signs as he smiled, knowing the spirits might hear them now that they were out of the mist.
Would you like to annoy some spirits? I need a distraction.
Zachary's eyes lit up with excitement, like a child who'd just been offered candy. He gave an exaggerated bow in response, indicating to his older brother that it would be more than an honor, and then disappeared with another green light. Hankio continued walking normally, and a few minutes later he heard a loud noise behind him. He turned to see a pillar of smoke and smiled mischievously.
That kid is surely the only one who'd create a big enough distraction without getting caught right away.
Hankio thought to himself, as he slowly moved away from the explosion.
Whatever he did must have surely caught the attention of the spirits.
Just when he thought he wouldn't be interrupted by any spirits on his way to the treehouse, a purple mist began to gather around him. Gradually, it became so thick that the elf couldn't take another step. The atmosphere grew chilly, and to match it, a voice as cold as the ice itself spoke behind Hankio.
Hankio?
Rue?
He answered without turning around. He didn't need to. He knew the spirit was staring daggers at him. Another loud noise was heard in the distance, and Hankio smirked again.
I see he's causing trouble again, that brother of yours.
said the spirit, moving around Hankio and getting taller with each second. They stopped right in front of him and turned their heads slightly towards the elf.
What is his name again? Xander...
Zachary.
Ha!
The spirit scoffed as he noticed that Hankio had been annoyed.
If you ask me, were it not for the element harbored within him, he would be long gone by now.
Hey!
What is it?
Asked Rue, amused.
Oh, my apologies. I had forgotten about how much you care about those kids nowadays. Have you had breakfast yet?
That was enough. Hankio truly couldn't stand them. The tall being in front of him annoyed him to the tips of his ears. He didn't know what the spirits were made of. In a way, they were shapeshifters and often switched forms. Still, whenever Rue talked to him, they always took the same water-like form. The only thing that distinguished them from a real waterfall was the mask they wore, where a face would have been had they been human. The mask had a simple teardrop shape, with small, narrowed eyes, 2 tiny water seals below them, and no mouth. It could be said that the spirit had taken the least elven form possible, and Hankio despised it with all his being. It disgusted him.
I know you don't actually care whether I've eaten breakfast or not. Why are you really here?
Well, I do believe there is something of the utmost importance that we must address.
Oh, is there? What would that be?
Asked Hankio, challenging the spirit.
Do not even dare to play with me, arrogant boy. You and the other elements, what were you doing this morning?
They knew about the human. Hankio was certain about it.
Oh, you know, Aka came to the tree house and we went out for a promenade. She eventually annoyed me, as usual, and I headed back to the tree house so I could have some peace and quiet.
He lied.
And the others?
Well, Zachary, as you've noticed, is off rampaging for fun. I think I saw Maely and Veniss gathering tidbits in the forest. As for Collyn and Onea, I don't know where they're at. What do I look like to you? Hankio, the almighty guardian spirit?
Hankio didn't know for sure if the spirit would buy his story or not. After all, spirits were presumed to be the most powerful beings in the whole world, almost looked upon by humans as gods.
All right, then. I would like a word with them, so I'll be heading to their house.
Rue said as the mist slowly dissipated and they walked in the opposite direction.
I trust you not to do anything foolish. You are an intelligent boy, so use your head and think clearly for once.
They added before disappearing. The elf was alone in the valley, wondering if the spirit's words were a threat or a warning. He was sure that the spirit did not trust the siblings at all. To tell the truth, he wondered if Rue even trusted the other spirits. The siblings didn't know what the spirits thought or planned or did most of the time, but they knew their relationship was not forged with iron, and that at any moment it could break. They knew this thanks to Ty, who risked his life by forging and maintaining his trusting relationship with the siblings. Ty was probably the only spirit they could trust. From the beginning, he had been there to help, not only Veniss, but all of them. Hankio knew that if they wanted to get off that stupid island, they would need the help of at least one spirit, and that would be Ty. If they decided to tell him what happened, it would have to be all of them together, and he needed the human to answer his questions before he could make any important decisions. He kept walking. Before long, he arrived at his treehouse. When he was younger, he used his magic to keep the spirits out. Now his treehouse was inside a giant water bubble on a tree trunk. He stopped in front of the stairs that allowed him to enter. The human was there. Threat or salvation was right in front of him. He only had to climb the stairs and all his questions would be answered, but he was terrified. Talking to that human could mean the end of everything he loved. He had almost taken Veniss away from him that morning, and nothing could assure him that he wouldn't try to hurt them as soon as they asked for help. Hankio let out a sigh, and with the courage he could gather, he took a step and began to climb the stairs.